Have you ever sat in your favorite chair at the end of the day, looked around the quiet house and thought, this is peaceful, but something's missing? Living alone, especially later in life, is one of those things that people talk about in passing, but rarely do we sit down and talk about the truth of it. The little moments, the challenges, and the unexpected joys that come from carving out life on your own terms. Some folks might tell you that living alone after 60 is all about freedom. And in many ways, that's true. You get to eat what you want, sleep when you want, decorate the house however you like, and no one's going to judge you if you decide to wear your bathrobe all day. But if we're being honest, and I know you value honesty as much as I do, there's another side to this picture, one that people often don't talk about until they're right in the middle of it. You see, living alone isn't just about peace and independence. It also comes with truths that can catch you off guard. Some that might stir a little loneliness, others that build unexpected strength. And today, we're going to talk about them. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. And more importantly, to help you embrace this chapter of life with more awareness and more heart. Let's begin with something that most people never really think about until they're in a tough spot. Being your own backup plan. When you live alone, especially as you get older, one of the biggest wake-up calls is realizing that no one's going to walk by the bathroom and check on you if you've been in there a little too long. No one's going to hear a loud thump if you fall. You are your own safety net. And that can feel like a heavy truth. There was a woman I remember reading about online. She was in her 70s, healthy, lived alone, very independent. One evening she slipped in the shower. Luckily she had her phone nearby, something she'd made a habit of carrying after reading a story from another senior who had been stuck for hours without help. That little habit, as simple as it sounds, saved her from lying on the floor all night. It may sound dramatic, but the reality is this. When you live alone, thinking ahead about your safety isn't paranoia. It's wisdom. Whether it's keeping a phone within reach, investing in a smartwatch with fall detection, or even installing a small emergency key lockbox outside for trusted friends or neighbors, these little steps offer real peace of mind. You don't need to turn your home into Fort Knox, but you do deserve to feel secure in your space. Think of it like giving your future self a helping hand. Because you matter, and your safety matters too. Now, let's talk about something that might surprise even the most introverted among us. Loneliness. You might think, I've always enjoyed my alone time. And that's fair. I know many people, myself included, who love quiet mornings and having the house to ourselves. But even if you're a proud introvert, there's a different kind of quiet that creeps in when you go days without having a real conversation. One man in his 80s once shared that he used to love his solitude. But after a few years of living alone, he found himself talking to the television just to hear another voice in the room. He wasn't looking for deep discussions. He just missed the little comments we all take for granted. Do you want some tea? Did you hear the rain last night? Those casual exchanges can leave a hole when they disappear. And the truth is, as we age, our social circles tend to shrink. Friends move away. Some pass on. Family gets busy. So if we're not careful, we can start feeling like we're drifting, even if we're surrounded by comfort. But here's the good news. Loneliness is real, but it's not permanent. There are ways to fill your space with warmth and connection again. Some people find comfort in adopting a pet, not just for the companionship, but for the sense of rhythm and responsibility it brings. A woman once said, "My cat doesn't talk, but he's always there when I walk in the door." And that makes a world of difference. Others reconnect through community groups, churches, or even online forums. Just because you live alone doesn't mean you have to be alone. And reaching out, even just a little, can be a lifeline for the soul. Of course, when you're living by yourself, even the most ordinary tasks can feel a bit more, well, tiring. Let's talk about home maintenance, something nobody really warns you about. You might love your home, take pride in keeping it tidy, maybe even enjoy gardening or fixing things now and then. But let's be honest, some days vacuuming the floor or cleaning the windows can feel like climbing a mountain. Not because you've lost your love for it, but because your energy just doesn't stretch as far as it used to. I remember a woman who kept a list of home projects on her fridge. Little things like touching up paint or replacing a light fixture. She said she felt a sense of guilt every time she walked past it, knowing she hadn't tackled any of them. But it wasn't laziness. It was just too much to manage on her own. And that's okay. We weren't meant to do everything by ourselves forever. Sometimes asking for help is the strongest thing you can do. Maybe that means hiring someone for the heavy lifting jobs, or swapping chores with a neighbor. You mow their lawn, they clean your gutters. And if it's in your budget, downsizing to a smaller place might be one of the kindest things you do for yourself. The point is, your home should serve you, not the other way around. You've earned the right to relax in your own space, not be overwhelmed by it. And in the midst of all this, the quiet, the responsibilities, the occasional loneliness, something beautiful starts to take shape. Your routine. When you live alone, your daily rhythm becomes more than just habit. It becomes your anchor. A cup of tea every morning, watering your plants at sunset, watching your favorite show at the same time every night. These aren't just rituals. They're moments that give your day structure and meaning. One gentleman said he plays the same song every morning while making breakfast. It's not about the song. It's about what it represents. A beginning, a fresh start, a sense of continuity. Another woman described how she ends each day by lighting a candle and sitting with a book, even if it's just for 10 minutes. It makes the house feel alive, she said. There's something deeply comforting in that. These small rituals become your rhythm, your heartbeat, and they remind you that you're still in control, still creating a life that fits you perfectly. Because that's the real truth about living alone. It's not about being without people. It's about building a life with yourself at the center, and realizing that's a life worth showing up for every day. Now let's keep going, because there's more to this journey, and it only gets richer from here. You know, one thing I've noticed is how easily the little things start to slip when no one else is around to witness them. When you live alone, especially as the years go on, it's not just about managing the house or keeping a routine. It's about moving, literally. It's funny how you don't realize how much activity comes from just living with another person, going on errands together, cleaning the kitchen as someone else cooks, getting up to answer a question from the other room. But when it's just you, all of that quiet convenience can slowly shift into stillness. Too much stillness. One man shared that after his wife passed, he stayed in his recliner more often than not. He said, "I didn't mean to stop moving, I just didn't have a reason to anymore." And that struck me, because that's how it happens. Slowly, subtly, until one day the stairs feel steeper. The floor feels harder under your feet, and your joints feel like they've aged 10 years overnight. But here's the good part. You don't need a gym membership or a fitness tracker to stay active. You just need intention. Maybe it's setting a daily step goal, even if it's just around your own home, or walking to the mailbox instead of driving. Maybe it's stretching while you wait for your coffee to brew, or dancing a little while you sweep the kitchen floor. One woman I read about even got a dog just so she'd have a reason to go outside every day. And it worked. Not only did she get more fresh air and movement, but she also felt less alone. The dog needed her. And in return, she began to feel needed again. Physical activity at our age isn't about pushing limits. It's about keeping the engine running. When your body moves, your mind follows. Your mood lifts, your sleep improves, your balance strengthens, and every bit of effort you put in becomes a quiet declaration. I still care about me. But it's not just our bodies that feel different. Time itself begins to change when you live alone. Without the external cues, someone getting ready for work, grandkids coming over, a partner's daily routines, the days can blend together like watercolors on wet paper. Some people describe it as feeling like they've lost their calendar. A man once shared, "I wake up and I'm not sure what day it is. Sometimes I don't even know if it's morning or afternoon." He wasn't confused in a medical sense. He was just untethered. And that's completely understandable. When we don't have shared schedules or appointments or someone to bounce ideas off, time can become slippery. But again, the beauty is that we can create our own rhythm. It doesn't have to be rigid or complicated. Maybe you do your grocery shopping on Mondays and sweep the porch on Thursdays. Maybe you have a special breakfast on Sundays or watch a new movie every Friday night. These little habits don't just fill time, they define it. They give it color and shape. And even if you forget what day it is once in a while, so what? The important thing is that you feel connected to the flow of your own life. That you're not just drifting, but directing. Now here's something you might not expect, but it's a powerful truth when you live alone. Everything in your home becomes more emotional. Every item on a shelf, every photograph on the wall, they start to carry weight. You don't have to check with anyone else about whether to keep that chipped coffee mug or those old holiday decorations. But that also means every decision about what stays and what goes is yours alone. And it can be hard. One woman admitted she kept boxes of old clothes and keepsakes she hadn't touched in years, simply because they reminded her of who she used to be. As a wife, a mother, a daughter. "It's just me," she said, "so who cares if I hold on to them?" And she's right, to a point. If those things bring comfort, then by all means, let them stay. But many people begin to realize over time that clutter, even emotional clutter, can become a quiet burden. It's not about becoming a minimalist. It's about making your space reflect who you are now, not just who you used to be. One man in his late 60s decided to downsize not just his house, but his belongings. He said, "I didn't want to leave a mess for someone else to clean up later. But more than that, I wanted my home to feel peaceful, not like a storage unit of old memories." That hit home for me. Because when you simplify your space, you make room for living, not just remembering. Start small. One drawer, one shelf, one photo album, and allow yourself to feel the memories as they come. That's not weakness. That's honoring your life. And finally, let's talk about something that's both unexpected and deeply personal. Your social life. Or rather, the strange way it can begin to quietly disappear. When you live alone in later life, it's not that people stop caring about you. It's just that their lives get full. With work, grandkids, travel, health stuff, invitations to gatherings start to slow down. The phone doesn't ring quite as often. And sometimes, it can feel like the world just moved on without you. But here's the game changer. You don't have to wait for anyone to include you. You can be the one who reaches out. I remember a woman who shared that she used to wait for her daughter or friends to call, but the silence made her feel invisible. One day, she decided to stop waiting. She started inviting people over for tea, organizing a small book club, and even hosting Sunday movie nights in her living room. And you know what? People came. Because everyone's looking for connection. Sometimes they're just waiting for someone to make the first move. When you live alone, you have the freedom to design your own kind of fun. Whether it's crafting nights, walking groups, puzzle parties, or just a good old-fashioned phone chat, don't be afraid to make the first call. And even if some people are too busy to say yes, don't take it personally. Just keep trying. Because you are not invisible. You are vibrant, capable, and absolutely worth knowing. And trust me, the right people will see that. Especially when you show them that you still want to be part of the dance. Let's keep going. There's more to this journey, and more strength waiting to be discovered in the little truths we rarely say out loud. There's something else that quietly unfolds when you've been living alone for a while. And that's the way self-care can slowly slip through the cracks. Not out of neglect, but out of that subtle, sneaky question that can pop into your head. Who am I doing this for? It's easy to dress up when someone's coming over. It's natural to make a nice dinner when you're sharing it with someone else. But when it's just you, day after day, there's a real temptation to let things slide. You might skip meals because they feel like too much trouble. Maybe you stay in the same clothes for a few days. Not because you're lazy, but because it's easier. You tell yourself, what does it matter? But deep down, you know it does. One man described it perfectly. He said, I realized I'd stopped doing small things for myself. I wasn't brushing my hair in the mornings. I was microwaving the same meal 3 nights in a row. And I hadn't gone for a real walk in weeks. It hit me. I'd treat a guest better than I was treating myself. That's the turning point for so many people. When they realize that self-care isn't something you earn, and it's not a performance for others. It's a daily choice to honor your own life, because you're worth the effort, even when no one's watching. That might mean starting small. Maybe you light a candle before dinner just because it makes the room feel special. Maybe you put on your favorite shirt, not for a date or a party, but for yourself. Or you schedule that doctor's appointment you've been putting off because your health matters, not for anyone else, but for you. One woman said her favorite part of the day was when she'd put on a face mask, make a cup of tea, and curl up with a book. It's just me, she said, but I still deserve a little ritual of care. And she's absolutely right. Living alone doesn't mean living less. It means learning how to nurture yourself with the same kindness and attention you've probably spent a lifetime giving to others. Because here's the truth that ties all of this together. Living alone is not a sign of being forgotten or left behind or unloved. It's an opportunity, a blank canvas. But like any blank canvas, it can feel overwhelming at first. It can make you pause and wonder where to begin. You begin right where you are. You begin by realizing that you have the power to create joy in small ways. You begin by deciding that your life, even in the quiet, even when no one else is around, is still worth celebrating. You begin by showing up for yourself again and again in little moments that say, I still matter. I still belong. There's no need to sugarcoat the hard parts. Yes, there will be lonely evenings. Yes, the silence can sometimes feel heavy. And yes, there are days when you'll wish someone was there just to listen, or to help you carry a bag of groceries up the steps. But there is also great beauty in this chapter of life. You can wake up when you like. You can eat breakfast in peace or dance in the kitchen without a single soul to judge you. You can fill your home with your favorite music, your favorite books, your favorite scents. You get to choose, every day, what your life looks like now. That freedom isn't always easy, but it's sacred, and you've earned it. So, if you're watching this and nodding along, maybe even feeling a little emotional, I want you to hear me clearly. You're not alone in how you feel. There are millions of people walking this same road, each with their own version of these truths. And many of them, just like you, are learning how to turn those truths into strength. If this video has spoken to you, I'd love for you to share your thoughts or stories in the comments. What helps you feel connected? What little routines or tricks have made your solo life sweeter? Your story might be the very thing someone else needs to hear today. And if you found value in this conversation, go ahead and click that like button. It really helps the channel grow and reach more folks just like you. Don't forget to subscribe to Strong Elderly Life for more videos that speak to your experiences, your wisdom, and your journey forward. This life, your life, is still full of laughter, love, learning, and light. No matter your age, no matter your living situation, you still have something beautiful to create. Here's to living your best life, one honest truth at a time. And remember, you don't need a crowd to feel full. Sometimes all it takes is one heart, still beating with purpose. And that heart, dear friend, is yours.